Hello, Gillian. Welcome to the Hidden Why podcast. Great to have you here today.
Thanks, Lee. It's great to be with you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. You're based in Sydney. You're the lead researcher behind the Business Pickle.
That's right.
Give us your elevator pitch.
Brilliant. So, yeah, as you mentioned, I'm on the team at the Business Pickle, and we're a research content platform that's here for leaders ready to do good. So the reason we started the Business Pickle is because we believe business can be a powerful force for good in the world, which I'm sure you'd agree with. But as you may know, your listeners may know, putting that into action can be really complicated. And so we want to help those leaders in businesses to improve their impact and give them tips and insights along the way. And so that's why we're here.
How long has it been established for?
So we're quite new. We've been running in the background for just over a year, but we launched our website with all our different reports and resources in August. So yeah, wow. we're quite new to the space.
Very interesting concept. Who came up with this idea?
Yeah, well, it actually began over brunch, which is one of my favorite pastimes, with my now co-founder, Simon. And we were actually just catching up and discussing some different businesses that we'd seen who had really shifted the way they were doing things in order to make a bigger impact. And yeah, we just started having these conversations around like how admirable that is, but how complicated it is as well. And so originally it started as an idea for a podcast, and it just seemed to snowball from there. So now we do in-depth research reports, podcasts, videos, we run workshops, we do events and all sorts of things. So we're really wanting to use all different kind of formats to engage leaders on these topics of making an impact through business.
Okay, so you've got a podcast then, the Business Pickle, I assume it's called?
Yes, yeah, just the Business Pickle, and we're on all the places where people are listening, so that's an easy way to find us there.
Okay, and what can we expect by jumping onto that podcast? Just ideas about, what we're doing in our businesses?
Great question. So the way we've structured the podcast is we've done a bit of a deep dive into different topics that are relevant to businesses. So we've got a series on giving, how businesses can give money to the nonprofit sector and help drive change there. We have a series on food waste, which is a big problem. We're wasting a third of the food that we produce in the world. So we talked to experts, we talked to business leaders and brought together some learnings on that and created a series. And then we've also got one on packaging, which is a problem I'm sure we're all aware of, just wanting to kind of unpack what all the complexities of packaging are, what businesses can be looking to do, what some of the quick wins are. And so each episode involves some conversation, dialogue between myself and Simon on the team. And then we also feature different expert interview excerpts from people we've talked to in the space.
Okay. Yeah, nice. What, do you focus on all sort of businesses, like any size and all, ranges of businesses?
Yeah, so we really think about the businesses that we really want to engage with. We use the technological adoption curve that you might be aware of, and we kind of apply it to impact in business. So if you can picture it, it's a bell curve. At one end, you've got the pioneers, and these are businesses that are really driving change. They're kind of on the cutting edge. Maybe Patagonia might be an example, or some other, amazing work being done. Then you've got your early adopters. So these are businesses that are kind of second in line. They're seeing what the Patagonias of the world are doing and they're chasing after it. But then we've got about a third of businesses that fall into this space of the early majority. And these are businesses that are motivated to change. They're motivated to keep innovating and adapting, but maybe they're not quite as far along in the journey. Maybe they're a legacy business and they've got some structures and systems in place that are difficult to shift overnight. And so we really see that the early majority businesses, however people might identify within that space, are the ones that we'd love to kind of engage with, because we don't want to convince people that it's important to do good in business. We think that's a great starting point of understanding, and then we're there to help on that next kind of stage of their journey. And in terms of size of business, we kind of think about medium-sized businesses where, again, maybe they've got some systems or structures in place. Maybe they've got ESG on their horizon or some kind of sustainability strategy, but in terms of executing it or having the resources to put it into practice, maybe there's a gap there that we can help with. So yeah, that's roughly where we sit. But again, we're happy to engage with
fun work.
Any kind of business. It is fun work. It's very varied. Yeah. Yes.
That's always good, isn't it? When you have varied work. On a macro level, if you're looking at businesses in today's society, whether it's Australia or global, what are some of the key fundamental challenges that you think are not being addressed by businesses?
Yeah, sure. So when we think about what it means to do good in business, that can mean a lot of broad things. So maybe if just to kind of take a step back and think about what that could mean for some leaders and businesses, it simply means providing jobs, providing essential products and services that are helping people in some way. But for others, it might become, think about becoming carbon neutral or thinking about their environmental impacts. For others, it might be doing a full supply chain assessment of ethics, environmental, sustainable practices. So when we're thinking in this space, it can mean a lot of things when people kind of approach the topic. But in terms of some of the big challenges, obviously the issues around climate are a big one that we hear a lot about. But I think what we're seeing is almost a potentially a lack of focus for businesses on what they should be directing their efforts and energy towards. So we actually did a leader survey to try and get a bit of a temperature check of where leaders are at, what their challenges are. And what we found was that while 70% of these leaders say that their businesses have a responsibility to improve their impact, only 2 in 5 of those leaders felt personally responsible to make an impact. So there's potentially a bit of a disconnect there. And then in terms of the challenges that those leaders identified as really important and big issues that they're struggling with in their business, there are some major themes that came through. Again, climate action was a big one, packaging and waste, and also equity and diversity. So these are obviously big picture themes, but maybe give a sense of where businesses are at and what they're grappling with at the moment.
It's hard to know where you'd start with a business because they'd all be so varied in what their major problems are. You talk about doing good and impact in business, and this is just a kind of negative sort of perspective, I guess, from my stance. I feel like business is really generally about making money, and most business I don't feel that would have good intent on making an impact. Maybe they do, and maybe some new age businesses do, but generally, like the big businesses that I grew up with, I think they're just about profiting.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And there's definitely truth in that, because businesses need to turn a profit. They need to, meet their bottom line. They need to be doing the everyday things of business, providing their services, providing their products, driving revenue, all of these things. And so the way that we see it is that there is a shift happening. So from whether it be shareholders or even customers, particularly younger generations coming up, that are really demanding more from business in terms of what impacts they're having in the world. And it might be things like, we're even seeing that from a legislatory kind of perspective of the Modern Slavery Act here in Australia and other movements around the world, to say, no, we actually need to hold businesses to a higher level of accountability when it comes to what the impacts of their business is in the world. And I think, in terms of whether it's growing, I think as well, we're seeing a big growth around ESG, which is environment, social governance frameworks that businesses are thinking about, that shareholders are asking for, that boards are kind of seeing as on the horizon of even where investment goes. Businesses are seeing these things as more important. So it's definitely a burgeoning space. I think there's a lot that we're going to see over the next, say, 10, 20 years. But as you say, there's the day-to-day reality of running a business that won't go away. And, business isn't set up as a non-profit. It's a whole different kind of ball game. And so it isn't to say, I'll throw all of that out the window and let's all just focus on the good we're doing. But how can we practically implement changes in our business that are, helping in some way?
Yeah, I mean, we're all out there working for a reason, and that's to make a living, aren't we, really, at the end of the day, like you are with your business. I suppose if we look at and this can relate to life too, I think. And this is just deep thought in my head at the moment. But if you look at a business right now, how would you start the process of saying, okay, well, let's have a look at what you're doing and how you can make good impact? Like,
Yeah,
where do we
sure.
start with that?
Yeah.
I think it's important in life as well.
Yes, for sure. And it really does depend on context as to where the business is at. I think a helpful clarifying question is how far along in the process they are. So say we come to a business and they think, look, this isn't an area, like we haven't even thought about ESG, we haven't thought about our sustainability, we haven't thought about anything, and we just don't know where to focus. It might be first off doing a bit of a benchmarking of what's happening in the industry already. So what does good look like in that particular field? Where are other businesses moving towards? And what are some of the frameworks that exist out there? Because it isn't a matter of every business needing to reinvent the wheel on like trying to come up with all these things. There are actually really helpful frameworks, certifications, programs out there that businesses can engage with to get clear on what it is. And I think also to actually just think about in a really practical way, okay, what are our what areas does our supply chain touch, or what areas do our operations impact, and what's going on in each of those kind of streams. So it's about finding things that are genuinely connected to what that business is already doing, rather than thinking, oh, we should, for instance, on the corporate giving topic, oh, we should donate to this random charity because we should be doing some good. It's like, well, maybe there's a better way to go about that and think about how your business does it. So that's quite a broad answer.
It makes sense. What do you think on the idea of businesses, I guess not necessarily taking the easy way, because businesses are busy and they've got other focuses, but just doing a charity donation to a charity that, I don't know, maybe doesn't seem to be aligned with the business, but they're doing it because they think, oh, we'll be seen as good because we're giving money. It's like, when you're walking down the street and you give $10 to someone that's sitting there begging.
Yes.
Do you do it for the right intention or not? And should businesses be more thoughtful in how they give back?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say that, yes, businesses should be more thoughtful in how they give back. And again, this is something that we dove into on our giving topic. So just to give you a bit of a sense of the landscape, in 2018, 2019, corporate giving in the US was $21 billion. And across the world, a survey of, I think it was over 40 countries by Candid, showed that just over 40% of philanthropic funding in response to COVID came from the corporate sector. So there's a lot of money flowing from businesses into the nonprofit space, but it's also a challenge of making sure that those dollars are actually creating impact. So if a business does say just make a cursory donation to a charity that they've picked out off the internet or whatever it might be, that's not to say that all of those dollars are actually going to create impact at the end of the day. So something that we were really surprised by in our research was a study showing that for nonprofit impact projects that encounter roadblocks of some kind, 46% of those roadblocks were caused by funders. And so businesses that, maybe if they do just want to tick a box and donate money, that's, at least it's something. But in terms of wanting to making sure that those dollars are actually creating change, it's more about setting up longer term partnerships, really interrogating what your business vision is, what your business mission is, and what a nonprofit might be doing that fits in with that. So thinking from that kind of perspective and working on, more of a trust-based, longer term relationship with a nonprofit is really where you can actually drive change, and where each of those dollars is actually going to create more impact. And from a business perspective, even things like staff engagement can get boosted through that. More and more people are wanting to work in businesses that have a clear purpose and feel engaged in their work to something bigger than themselves. And so these are ways businesses can really almost kill two birds with one stone in terms of making an impact to that nonprofit, but also helping their team feel engaged in their work and wanting to work for that organization.
Do you look at that side of things, like the employee situation and I guess their satisfaction with the workplace? Do you do a lot of research and help support businesses in that segment?
Yeah, so it hasn't been a strong focus of ours as yet, but in terms of the work that we do, say a business actually engages our services, we do surveys of their staff in order to understand where they're at and what they want to see the business doing. So yeah, insights can come through that way. But in terms of a big study, we're really at this point in time drawing on secondary sources around, what the impact of purpose for customers or for staff and those kinds of things. So it's an interesting space. Hopefully we'll have more to share on.
Yeah, I'm a bit disconnected from it all, but I mean the figures I still read is that most people are dissatisfied with their workplace. So that's one aspect of it. But I also think that this world of social connectivity where we're just surrounded by all this information.
Yes.
Is sometimes a little bit false and misleading. And so we all become this righteous person of, I want to protect the environment, or I want this in my work life. But perhaps it's not the real reality of the situation. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. And I think you're right. There can be, we can really be drawn into whatever the headlines are at that time, or just the amount, almost a barrage of information every day across so many different issues. And it's kind of like, how do you find a way through this quagmire of things I'm meant to be caring about, things I'm meant to be doing something about? But I think if we just break it down to like, what can we do today that's an improvement on yesterday, and get really practical. So for each of our reports, we try and finish with some really practical steps that businesses can take. What are the easy wins? What are the small changes that over a long time or over, as your business scales, you can see a change. So it isn't a matter of every business needing to solve these massive problems. But if we all do a little bit, these things can shift.
Yeah. So give us some practical takeaways now for a business owner listening out there, or a business leader, whether it's a small, medium or large business. What can we do?
Yeah, sure. So I would say, first off, it's about learning and listening. So gather some evidence, think about what are other businesses in your industry or in similar industries already doing. So it might be look at their reports, find what their ESG frameworks are, see what's happening in the space, and find out what kind of certifications or frameworks could work for you. So, for instance, when we were looking at the issue of packaging, we came across some great resources from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which really helps businesses understand how they can make their packaging more circular, with lots of practical examples from businesses. They've got basically online tools you can use to run workshops with your team, all kinds of resources that are freely available. And the other one was the Cradle to Cradle Products Innovation Institute, which is a globally recognized framework to help businesses improve their packaging across lots of different domains, environmental and social. And so these are tools, these are frameworks or certifications that mean someone's coming alongside your business and showing you, okay, this is evidence-based steps that you can take to make a difference. And I think just finding what's happening in that particular area that you're interested in or that your industry is sitting in. And again, you don't need to create all this stuff from the ground up, like partner with others, talk to other leaders. And another big one is to actually share the small changes you're making in your business, or sharing what you don't know yet, and actually not being afraid to have those conversations. I think sometimes businesses are afraid to say they've shifted one little thing in their business. They're almost afraid that they're going to be hit with backlash that, oh, you're not doing enough, or you haven't done this properly. But I think just being able to honestly share what little changes are being made can actually help other businesses see that and also start to shift things in their business.
100%.
So yeah, those are just some tips, but there's a lot more, obviously, that could be said.
What an exciting role. I mean, I love the idea of business and what business is doing. So the Business Pickle, good solution provider, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right. And we hope that what we provide, whether it's like we've got free reading and resources available on our website, as well as if businesses do need a helping hand along the way, we can get alongside them in that way. So we're really hoping that what we're providing is helpful and practical and creates change.
Yeah, I love it. How can people best find out more about you? Obviously, got the Business Pickle podcast.
Yes.
Say that 3 times fast is going to be a challenge.
That's right. It's a bit of a tongue twister. So the best place to find us is thebusinesspickle.com. And we're also on all the various social media platforms. Again, if you just search The Business Pickle, you'll find us. We've got our podcast, and we're also on YouTube if you prefer video format. And again, thebusinesspickle.com will show up wherever you're looking.
That's awesome. Gillian, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks so much for having me. Great to chat.
Guys, check it out at thehiddenwhy.com. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon.